Thanks for coming back to the tiny house build. We left off last time with the framing done and the plywood for the roof. So we're going to jump right back into adding some of the structural supports to the house. Rather than using jack studs on the building to keep weight down, I used header hangers from Strong Tie to add them directly to the king studs. So here I'm putting them into the 2x4 uprights and getting the headers secured since there's no jack studs holding up the openings for the door or windows. While probably not considered a lot of weight on a regular house, not using jack studs saved us about 50 pounds. So that was step one of saving weight on the build. So this is a Simpson tie, or Simpson Strong Tie, HDU4. It comes with this bracket and this bag of items, which is 10 additional screws, and then the washer that slides down in this to lock it in. It is not designed for tiny houses, but it seems almost perfect for it. These go into your upright, and this goes down through your trailer, and it gives it some flexibility right there. So it might as well be built for a tiny house. So I'm adding 8 of these to this trailer at various places around. I'm making sure to put 2 in the very front since that's where the wind is going to be hitting the most, and I'm putting 2 in the very back just as a counterpoint to that, and then 4 sporadically throughout the rest of the length of the trailer. So I'll have 8 of these. I've installed 4 so far, and it has locked this framing down. There was a little bit of sway side to side, and when we put this in here, it does not move anymore. So it has made a big difference. They're currently $29 a piece here in the US, so they're not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but this is something that I definitely suggest if you're looking to do a tiny house on a trailer. Here I'm drilling all of the bolts into the upright 2x4. You can see behind this upright I added a second 2x4 to give some extra stability to this particular upright, and drilled all of these lag bolts through the HDU4 and into the upright. And next I will drill down into the trailer and lock it in. Once it's attached to the upright, you'll drop the bolt down through the trailer. I added a steel plate at the bottom to distribute some of that weight along the trailer, and just tightened it all down. For some reason we didn't capture any video of doing the strapping along the way, but you're able to see the strapping that we added for upright stability here and here. The strapping will actually add a ton of structural stability to the entire build by locking all of the uprights together into one solid structure. Here it is from a different angle, showing how we locked all the uprights together. Here's a quick overview of all of the items that we added for structural integrity before we start doing the house wrap. So here's a good view of that metal strapping that we talked about. If you look down to the left right there, you can see the Simpson tie above the headers. You can see all of the header hangers. We did the front and the back with a long strand of continuous banding to lock the sides and the back together. There's another Simpson tie. You can see some more of the header hangers. And this is all feeling very solid, but it's going to feel extremely like a rock once we get the sheathing or the structural insulation on. Here we start doing the sheathing. You can see as I handle that 4x8 sheet how light this product that we're using really is. The product that we decided to go with is a structural foam insulation by the company Ox. This product is called Ox IS and only weighs 16 pounds for a 4x8 sheet. Going with this product over a zip or plywood product saved us right around 1,200 pounds over the entire build. At the same time as saving on weight, it also had about 6 times the R value that a sheet of plywood has. One of the important things to know as you're putting in the Ox IS product is to set the depth and the strength of your nail gun to only pierce the top layer and not go into the foam. That makes it a lot easier to clean up, and the product will actually expand after the nail and kind of self-heal itself so that you don't have to worry about any penetration of water. So with this product, you actually do not need to add any type of barrier on the outside to give it additional protection. Here's another quick evidence of how light this really is. Easily able to hand it up to Chris, who is up on the ladder, and he's able to easily handle it into place without really any strain whatsoever. As long as you don't drop the nail gun every time you put a sheet up, then it's really very easy to do. This is the part of the build where you can really see that we did not know what we were doing as we work our way down, and there's a giant gap between the first row and the second row. This is another one of those steps that really makes the house start to feel like a home. You can really start to see what the house is going to look like and feel like on the inside. And here's the walkthrough after the Ox IS is up and I cut the hole in the door. It really kind of defines the space and lets you see what it's going to look like. Tons of trash on the inside from where we were putting everything together, but once it's swept up, it cleaned up pretty nice. So this is where we're going to leave off for part 2. We made some huge steps today by adding the structural supports inside of the framing and getting the structural insulation added to really start to bring this thing together. Make sure that you click the subscribe button if you haven't so that you get notified when part 3 comes out, where we start adding a door, adding windows, and starting to get this dried in so that we can also start working on the inside. I really appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you stick around for one tip that I learned at the tiny house class that I really think a DIY builder should know that you may not think about. So one of the takeaways that we covered in the tiny house class that I thought was a really good takeaway was the 3-stud corner. So it's one of those things that if you're building your first tiny house, you don't really think about. So essentially this is what it is. So you've got a corner right here. You've got your stud from this long wall, you've got your stud from my short wall. So when you go to site it, you put your boards here and you tack them in, not a big deal. But then when you come in from this way, there's nowhere for that to get tacked onto. So it just takes adding one board to this corner here, and it's super simple. All you do is you cut it the same dimension as your end stud here, and then you just tack it in the same direction as the end wall. So now when you come in, you're going to have room there, then you're going to come in this direction, and you're going to have room there. So it's nothing super complicated, just that's the full length of this long running wall, and then you just tack that in, and then they're going to come together perfectly on that corner. You'll have plenty to tack to.